Multi-country criminal network exposed and dismantled.
And we've learned that 15 immigrants were arrested Tuesday during a raid on an area construction site. ICE agents say they were from Nicaragua, El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras, and will now be, quote, processed for removal.
Well, here we go again. Another massive bust. Every time you think they're seen it all, they uncover something even bigger. This sounds intense already.
What if I told you that the construction site building your child's school might be staffed by people who entered America illegally 17 different times? ICE just proved this isn't conspiracy, it's reality. In a coordinated multi-agency operation across New Orleans, federal agents arrested 15 undocumented workers from 4 different Central American countries, all operating under false documents at active construction sites.
17 times? That's insane. The fact that they managed to slip through that many times and even end up building schools, that's honestly mind-blowing and kind of scary.
Before we continue, one click on the subscribe button fuels all the effort behind this and every future video. Let's break it down. How ICE exposed an organized criminal network flooding New Orleans construction sites with undocumented workers, and why this operation reveals the real economic warfare happening at American job sites.
Economic warfare. Wow, that's a strong way to put it. But honestly, yeah, it does feel like something much bigger is going on beneath the surface.
Gathering and surveillance. This wasn't a random inspection. This was a coordinated federal operation targeting specific locations where intelligence indicated systematic document fraud and organized placement of undocumented workers. When federal agents arrived at multiple construction sites across New Orleans, they weren't just checking work permits. They were dismantling a sophisticated criminal network that had embedded itself deep into Louisiana's construction industry.
Man, that sounds like something out of a movie. All that planning, surveillance, and then boom, a full-scale takedown. It's crazy how organized these networks actually are.
Honduras. Multiple construction sites raided simultaneously, and every single one of these individuals was operating under fraudulent documentation that had allowed them to gain employment at American job sites, taking positions that should have gone to American workers. This operation was led by ICE Homeland Security Investigations, the federal agency responsible for investigating criminal networks that exploit immigration systems for profit. HSI doesn't just enforce immigration law, they target the organized criminal enterprises that traffic people, forge documents, and create the infrastructure that allows illegal employment to flourish.
Wow, 15 people, 4 countries, and fake documents everywhere. That's not some small-time operation. You really see how deep this stuff runs once ICE starts connecting the dots.
The multi-agency cooperation was critical to the operation's success. HSI coordinated with ICE enforcement and removal operations to ensure that arrests could be processed efficiently and individuals could be taken into federal custody. Local law enforcement provided support and intelligence about construction activity in their jurisdictions. Federal databases were cross-referenced to identify individuals with prior deportations or criminal histories. And document fraud specialists examined the false identification cards, forged social security numbers, and counterfeit work authorization documents that these 15 individuals had been using to maintain their illegal employment.
Wow, that's a full-blown team effort. ICE, local cops, document experts, everyone working together. It's wild how much coordination it takes just to untangle one network like this.
The sophistication of the document fraud cannot be understated. These weren't crude forgeries that any employer could spot. These were high-quality fraudulent documents produced by criminal organizations that specialize in creating false identities for undocumented workers. Social security cards that looked authentic, driver's licenses with holographic security features, work authorization documents that appeared legitimate to employers who weren't conducting thorough background checks. The criminal networks producing these documents operate across international borders, with production facilities in Central America and distribution networks that extend throughout the United States. They charge hundreds or even thousands of dollars for complete identity packages, creating a lucrative black market that profits from illegal immigration while undermining American employment law. The visual
Wow, that's the next level stuff. You're not talking about cheap fakes here. These are professional grade identities. It's like there's an entire underground industry built just to outsmart the system.
Immigration status and work authorization. Forged documents being seized as evidence, individuals being placed in federal custody and transported for processing. Every construction company in the region received a clear message that morning. ICE is watching, document fraud will be detected, and illegal employment carries serious consequences. But the
Yeah, that must have been a wake-up call for a lot of companies. Seeing ICE roll up like that is one of those moments where everyone realizes this isn't just talk anymore.
construction industry has become ground zero for organized efforts to suppress American wages through the systematic placement of undocumented workers who will accept lower pay, work in unsafe conditions, and never complain about labor violations. This isn't happening by accident. This is coordinated. This is organized. This is economic infiltration designed to undercut American workers and maximize profits for unscrupulous contractors.
Man, that's heavy. When you put it like that, it's not just illegal hiring, it's a whole system built to exploit people and crush fair competition. That's messed up.
Qualified American workers with the skills, training, and legal right to work in construction are struggling to find employment. These are electricians, plumbers, carpenters, and general laborers who have invested years learning their trades, following safety regulations, and paying into Social Security and Medicare. These are workers who support families, pay mortgages, and contribute to their local economies through consumer spending. And they're being systematically displaced by undocumented workers who are willing to work for half the prevailing wage because they have no legal alternatives and no ability to demand fair compensation.
Yeah, obviously, that really hits hard. You've got hardworking Americans losing out on jobs they trained years for, while others get exploited just to keep costs down. Nobody wins in this setup.
The organized recruitment and placement systems that funnel undocumented workers into American construction jobs operate with disturbing efficiency. Criminal networks in Nicaragua, El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras recruit workers with promises of high-paying construction jobs in the United States. They arrange transportation across multiple borders, often charging thousands of dollars that leave workers deeply indebted. They provide fraudulent documents upon arrival in the United States, and they connect these workers with contractors who are willing to hire them despite knowing or suspecting their illegal status. It's a pipeline that spans multiple countries and generates millions of dollars in profit for the criminal organizations running it.
Wow, that's a whole international pipeline built on lies and debt. These workers think they're chasing opportunity, but really, they're just getting trapped in another form of exploitation.
The impact on American families is devastating and personal. A father who spent 4 years in an apprenticeship program learning to be a commercial electrician now finds he can't compete with undocumented workers being paid under the table. A veteran who came home from military service and entered construction trades discovers that contractors are hiring workers willing to accept cash payments at rates far below union scale. A young man trying to support his family through skilled labor finds that the market has been flooded with workers whose illegal status means they'll never report safety violations, demand overtime pay, or insist on proper equipment. These aren't abstract economic statistics. These are real people whose livelihoods are being destroyed by organized criminal networks that profit from illegal immigration.
That's gotta be rough. Hearing those examples make it so real. It's not just numbers, it's families getting crushed while criminals and shady contractors cash in. That's heartbreaking.
To support families and retire with dignity. But when contractors can hire undocumented workers for a fraction of union wages, the entire system comes under pressure. Projects that would have provided good-paying union jobs instead become opportunities for contractors to cut costs by hiring illegal labor. Union membership declines, wages stagnate, and the collective bargaining power that protected American workers erodes as the labor market becomes flooded with workers who have no legal standing to demand fair treatment. With the new
Yeah, that's a serious blow to everything unions have built over decades. It's like watching the fountain of fair labor slowly crumble, and the worst part is, everyone sees it's happening.
weren't just taking American jobs, they were gaining access to construction sites that could include critical infrastructure, government buildings, schools, hospitals, and other sensitive locations where unvetted workers pose serious security risks.
Well, that's a whole different level of concern. It's not just about jobs anymore. It's about who's getting access to some of the most important places in the country.
HVAC configurations and structural details. They handle materials that could potentially be used for harmful purposes. They work in proximity to sensitive equipment and secure areas. And when those workers are undocumented individuals operating under false identities, nobody knows who they really are, what their backgrounds include, or what their intentions might be. The document fraud that allowed them to gain employment means their real identities remain unknown. Their criminal histories, if any exist, haven't been checked. Their associations and connections haven't been vetted. They're ghosts in the system, working at American construction sites with access to infrastructure and buildings that Americans depend on every day.
Dang, that's actually pretty scary when you think about it. People with fake identities working inside schools, hospitals, and government buildings. That's not just risky, that's a total security nightmare.
The sophistication of document fraud networks creates security breaches that extend far beyond individual work sites. When criminal organizations can produce fraudulent documents good enough to fool employers, those same documents can be used to open bank accounts, obtain credit, rent apartments, and gain access to other systems that assume documentation equals verified identity. The infrastructure that allows undocumented workers to gain construction employment is the same infrastructure that allows criminals to operate under false identities throughout American society. Every forged Social Security card, every counterfeit driver's license, every fake work authorization document represents a breach in the systems designed to ensure that only legal residents and citizens can access employment and services.
Yeah, that really puts it in perspective. It's not just about jobs, it's about how fake identities can ripple through the entire system, touching banks, housing, even national security.
Multi-state pipeline connections reveal that what happened in New Orleans is just one node in a massive network. The criminal organizations recruiting workers in Central America and providing fraudulent documents aren't focused on just one city or one state. They're operating a national pipeline that places undocumented workers throughout American construction markets. Workers arrested in New Orleans might have connections to networks placing people in Texas, Florida, Georgia, and other states with active construction industries. Intelligence gathered from these 15 arrests provides leads that ICE HSI agents will follow to other cities and other operations. Document fraud specialists will analyze the seized materials to identify the production sources and distribution networks. And future enforcement operations will target the criminal enterprises profiting from this systematic violation of American immigration and employment law.
Wow, New Orleans was just one piece of a much bigger puzzle. It's crazy to think that this whole network stretches across states like a hidden web under the entire construction industry.
HSI agents working these cases understand that every worksite enforcement operation serves multiple purposes. Yes, they're removing individuals who are in the country illegally and working without authorization, but they're also gathering intelligence about the criminal networks facilitating illegal immigration. They're identifying document fraud patterns. They're developing leads on smuggling organizations, and they're building cases against employers who knowingly hire undocumented workers and against the criminal enterprises that profit from providing false documents and illegal labor placement services. The network
Of course, it's not just about arrest, it's about pulling the thread on a much bigger web. Every raid uncovers more players, more clues. It's like building a map of a whole new underground system.
ICE Homeland Security investigations doesn't measure success just by arrest numbers. They measure success by the criminal networks dismantled, the fraudulent document production facilities shut down, the smuggling organizations prosecuted, and the employment pipelines disrupted. Every operation creates consequences that ripple through criminal networks, making it more difficult and more expensive to place undocumented workers in American jobs. The success metrics from this operation extend beyond the 15 individuals arrested. Intelligence was gathered that will inform future operations. Document fraud evidence was seized that will lead to other investigations. Employers were put on notice that ICE is conducting worksite inspections and verifying employment eligibility. And criminal organizations operating the recruitment and placement pipeline learned that their activities are being monitored and targeted by federal law enforcement. The message sent to international trafficking organizations is clear. The United States will not tolerate criminal networks that profit from illegal immigration and employment fraud. Future enforcement.
Yeah, that's a huge deal. It's not just about a few arrests. It's about sending a clear message that these networks can't operate with impunity. The ripple effect alone are massive.
They're developing better intelligence systems to identify contractors and employers who systematically hire undocumented workers. They're strengthening cooperation with local law enforcement and industry groups that want to compete fairly without being undercut by illegal labor. And they're building cases against the high-level organizers and criminal enterprises that run the document fraud and worker placement networks, not just arresting the individual workers at the bottom of the chain.
Yeah, that's the smart approach. Going after the organizers at the top instead of just the workers at the bottom shows that they are serious about dismantling the entire network, not just cleaning up one side.
Indicates illegal employment. They successfully identify and arrest undocumented workers, seize fraudulent documents, and gather intelligence that leads to broader network disruption. When federal agents work with local law enforcement and industry partners, they create an enforcement environment where employers feel pressure to verify work eligibility and criminal networks face increased difficulty placing workers. And when the federal government demonstrates commitment to protecting American workers through consistent enforcement operations, it sends a deterrent message that extends far beyond any single city or single arrest.
Wow, that really shows the power of coordinated enforcement. It's not just about one raid. It's about creating a system where employees and criminals alike think twice before breaking the law.
Criminal networks that have been profiting from placing illegal workers are facing increased federal attention. Undocumented workers considering coming to the United States for construction jobs now know that ICE is actively conducting worksite inspections, and American workers who have been displaced by illegal labor have reason to hope that enforcement efforts will restore fair competition in their industry. ICE Homeland Security Investigations' commitment to protecting American workers and dismantling criminal networks is unwavering. The New Orleans operation is one of many worksite enforcement actions being conducted nationwide. Federal agents are targeting construction sites, manufacturing facilities, service industries, and any sector where organized criminal networks have established pipelines for placing undocumented workers in American jobs. The mission continues, the enforcement operations expand, and the message remains clear. America's jobs are for Americans, and criminal networks that profit from illegal immigration will face the full weight of federal law enforcement.
Man, that's a strong finish. You can really see how one operation sends ripples through entire industries, criminals, network, and communities. It's not just enforcement, it's a full-scale wake-up call.
Do you support expanded ICE worksite enforcement operations to protect American construction workers from illegal labor competition? Should employers who knowingly hire undocumented workers face criminal prosecution? Share your thoughts in the comments below. For more exclusive coverage of ICE Homeland Security Investigations operations, worksite enforcement raids, and the fight to protect American workers, hit subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss when federal agents expose threats hiding in plain sight at American job sites.
Yeah, that's a strong call to action. Protecting American workers, exposing criminal networks, and keeping industries fair. It's serious work, and people need to pay attention to it.